What's up, nerd and nerdettes? It's time for a superpower shorty. This superpower is a splinter off the branch of body manipulation. So sit down and get set for hair manipulation. With the ability to rescue yourself and descend from a tower, wash it, style it when you get out of the shower, or whip your hair back and forth and unleash massive girl power, users of Comakinesis have complete control over hair, a keratin-protein filament that grows from follicles found around the dermis, aka the scalp. Not only does this include hair found on humans and other primates, but also fur found on all other types of animals, allowing them to freely alter, grow out, regenerate, reshape, shorten, and manipulate it as if it was an appendage. They can weave the hair into various different shapes. This is a little neat thing to think about. Barring any changes to the user of this power's immune system or emotional state, most forms of attack or damage are virtually harmless to the user, as hair doesn't contain any pain receptors. And with the different types of hair, yes, there are different types of hair texture, various types of defense and utilities can come into play. This is another power that's integral to most living beings and their respective cultures. As a part of the body and a concept that most, if not all, people are familiar with, it's pretty well known that hair is mostly composed of keratin proteins and are made out of three parts: the medulla, the innermost layer of the hair shaft; the cortex, which is located between the hair cuticle and the medulla; and the cuticle, the outermost part of the hair shaft. Hair color, on the other hand, comes from the amount of melanin that the hair possesses. And as a fun little fact, the only living portion of our hair is found within the follicle. So with that being said, obviously, hair growth begins inside the hair follicle. So in a weird way, the part that we really value about the hair follicle can be considered its waste, because they are an outgrowth of dead cells from the skin. So yeah, pretty much waste. So while there are exceptions, you're more than likely going to find hair as we identify it on mammals. And for the most part, mammals have not only fur, but other types of hairs that serve other types of functions. This ranges from thermal regulation and camouflage to providing signals to other animals, such as warnings, mating availability, or other communicative displays. And for some animals, hair provides defensive functions, and even more rarely, offensive protection. But it doesn't stop there, because it also has a sensory function built into it as well, extending the sense of touch beyond the surface of the skin. Normally referred to as guard hairs or whiskers in some cases, these hairs are usually the first to come in contact with danger and as a result trigger a reflexive reaction. But beyond the physical and logical explanations for hair that exist, hair has dozens of esoteric and hidden meanings. For one, hair doesn't decompose, so in days past, hair was a symbol of eternal life and a reminder of mortality and immortality, as well as pride and power. That's why giving a lock of hair to your loved one was a sign of love and devotion, or why longer hair is associated with youth if it's on the head, or mystery if it's on the face, and shorter hair is associated with conservatism and honesty. And since we're on that topic, we might as well go here too. Most forms of lighter colored hair are viewed as unique because of the relative rarity in our world. In fact, the symbolism of hair is so important that in most science fiction or cases of magic mumbo jumbo that have to do with, I don't know, cloning or manipulating others, the main ingredient is usually a strand of DNA. And what's the easiest, most available, and least suspicious way of gathering DNA? Taking someone's hair. Which is why in these weird rituals, hair is one of the #1 ingredients that's needed if you want to target someone. But it doesn't stop there, because there are other superstitious outlooks that we have on hair. A main one has to do with personality, as it's normally believed that an individual's mental and physical state can be determined by the condition of their hair, or by how their hair appears to others. But getting back into this concept as a superpower, this ability, when shown, has endless ways of presenting itself. Yes, there's the obvious tier of making your hair do the fighting by either controlling it or having it have a mind of its own, which we normally dub prehensile hair. And to be honest with you, the majority of hair-based users fit into that category, because more often than not, this classification can act like a Swiss Army superpower, allowing it to do anything the user wants, with its applications ranging from forming a whip or a lash, to picking up a spare weapon like hands, to picking locks like a lockpick, to allowing characters to form constructs of, I don't know, extra arms, mallets, chainsaws, or throwing around boulders with a flick of their follicles. Depending on how it's used, required secondary powers might be necessary if the hair can support more weight than the user's scalp or neck. Heck, the hair itself might be a necessary component to complete some magic spell or voodoo-like effect. Like, they might get their power from their hair in a similar manner to Samson of Judeo-Christian legend. But there also exists another tier that has to do with hair color. Like stated in previous videos, mostly the elemental ones, certain hair types and colors can and often do portray certain characteristics about a character. And when you add superpowers to the mix, you get a little chicken and egg argument of, did the power change the hair or did the hair create the new power? For example, red hair means the individual has a higher chance of being portrayed as hot-tempered and impulsive while at the same time possessing some kind of temperature-based ability like heat or fire manipulation. Check those videos out. Another example is white or gray hair, usually belonging to older people, aka a silver fox. But if a younger character possesses this color hair, then there's obviously something odd or mystical or otherworldly about them. Or so popular culture would have us believe. Stereotypically, blondes are portrayed as innocent and pure and possibly witty, and brunettes are usually typecasted as book-smart, dependable, or boring, while raven hairs are seen as aloof, cold, or possessing a distant personality. And more often than not, brunettes and raven hairs will make up the majority of the protagonist roles because they outnumber every other hair color type. You know what? I think I'll do a video on the different power types and archetypes associated with hair colors later on. That does seem pretty interesting. If you guys want to see it, let me know in the comment section. But anyway, moving on. But let's be honest here. Hair itself is extremely interesting to humans because if it wasn't, there wouldn't be a multi-billion-dollar industry. And while most of us will never have the opportunity to even gaze upon $1 billion, let alone $1 million, everyone has the opportunity to hit that like and subscribe button. So do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button so I can keep you in the loop and make sure that you're ready for the next video that's coming out. Now, with the power to control hair comes the natural ability to attack with, defend with, and control hair for offensive purposes with hair attacks. The user can control hair without touching it and use it to manipulate outside objects in a push or pull manner with telekinesis. And piggybacking off of that application, if you want to use that same hair you're using as a telekinetic force, then use it to bind and restrict others, which is totally within the realm of possibilities, with hair imprisonment. Well, what if you want to actually put said hair through a stress test, if you will, that it probably won't survive normally? Well, just increase the mass and density of said targeted strand of hair, or just weave the individual strands together with hair solidification. From there, the user can create shapes both simple and complex out of hair with Comakinetic constructs. And on a humorous note, if you create shapes out of hair, then why not use that connection to express your mental state in order to express or communicate to others with expressive hair? From there, a user of this ability, if talented enough, should be able to create their own source of hair completely separate from outside sources, which we already do anyway, with hair generation. Even if the user can control mustaches, beards, eyelashes, eyebrows, or even nose hair, then they're most definitely making use of facial hair manipulation. Or if the user happens to lean towards the more feral or animalistic side of keratin control, then they would be able to create their own source of fur with fur generation. In actuality, there's no real difference between hair and fur. But if you want to continue with the animalistic side of hair and or fur, then go ahead and increase your spatial awareness and senses by growing sensitive keratin-based feelers out of your face with whisker protrusion. If you want to increase the length of your hair or fur and thereby your attack range, defense applicability, or even the amount of hair you have to style and then profile, then hair growth is an application that you really can't go without. And in the inverse, if you want to retract your hair or fur for a more conservative approach, then hair shortening will benefit you way more than you realize. So from there, in a unique twist, if the user wants to add power or mass to their own source of keratin-based body parts, then have your hair or fur consume outside hair or fur, or even outside forms of matter, and take it into their own being with Comakinetic absorption. And let's be honest here, if you manage to take in something into your physical form, if you're lucky and your body can handle it, you should gain some beneficial form of enhancement from the hair or even outside forms of matter via hair empowerment. And with that increased power flowing through you, you should be able to transform your physical form into that of hair and or fur, either completely or just be able to transform selective body parts with hair mimicry. And since you have a body that mimics the constitution of hair, if any damage befalls it, and trust me, there are a lot of ways to damage hair, just replace it in a manner far superior to just growing it back naturally with hair regrowth, as this ability repairs split ends and any kind of superficial beauty damage or genetic damage that would cause one to have to cut their hair off in the first place and start the growing process all over again. You can completely skip that process with this application. Or if you want to completely no-sell anyone who tries to use hair-based abilities against you, you can induce baldness on their opponents or on yourself in a way that can serve as a diversion or allow easier access to vital areas, because hair normally covers important areas of the animal body, with alopecia projection. But for those of you that want to push ahead and separate themselves for lower tier users of this power, then tap into the essence of what makes hair and fur what it is and alter the various effects like controlling its temperature or texture with hair property manipulation. This application allows you to alter things about said hair. If you want to change the amount of melanin your hair possesses, then this will change the tint and shade with hair color manipulation. If you want to sharpen your hair and then use the newly needle-like protrusions as natural weapons, then create, shape, and manipulate the sharp spines on your body with quill manipulation. This can also double as hair sharpness manipulation. The user can make their hair move and use it to hold objects like a limb or attack objects like a limb or weapon while still being attached to the original source of the hair via prehensile hair. Or instead of going the forceful route, they can play the role of a manipulator and use the hair strings to control others with hair marionette. But if being proactive isn't your thing, then play the passive role and increase your hair's tensile strength so nothing can damage you, which can grant you unbreakable hair. Or if you see yourself as more of a hairy medic, then control the properties of your hair and use it to heal yourself or others by either stitching wounds together or by using the hair as a replacement for what was lost via hair healing. Now, since you can do all this complicated stuff with your luscious mane, just infuse it into whatever combative capabilities you possess in perhaps one of the most humiliating, stylish, and, confusing ways to beat someone down with hair combat. If you want to increase your locomotive capabilities, then use the previous applications in order to thrust themselves across the environment through the force of your hair alone with hair propulsion. Or if the user wants to cover more ground while getting a bird's eye view, then do so, but through the exclusive use and medium of hair via Comakinetic flight. If you like to keep your hair unkempt or just unmanageable so it can't be brushed, let alone used to fly, or you know someone who likes to do so, then with hair portal creation, you can use that messy hair as a medium that can link two different locations together and stay lazy. And then use that hairy dimensional space to hide and store objects that you can later recall with hair storage. Or they can transport themselves from one location to another via the hair or hair-like sources, which in turn can be done by either wrapping hair around themselves to teleport them where they wish to be, or by the portal method mentioned earlier, via hair teleportation. And there you have it. Hair manipulation, nice, neat, wrapped up in a bun for you. While limited, this ability is still fairly simple and straightforward in how it can be used, but this is still an ability that, under the right conditions, can be extremely overpowered, but under the right conditions. If it sounds like I left some things out, that's because most of these uses can lead to its parent superpower, body manipulation, and its spiritual power, thread manipulation. In fact, this power is like a tab in body manipulation's massive folder, so if you want any more examples or ideas on how this power can be used, check that video out. Other than that, the main weaknesses of an ability like this are temperature, as intense heat or fire can halt the regeneration process of organic beings, and the smell of burnt hair is enough reason to avoid fire or extreme heat in the first place. But like I said earlier, because hair growth is where this ability lives and breathes, any element that deals with extreme temperatures can damage hair to the point of non-recovery. You also have to think about the health of the hair user, or the source of where the hair is coming from. So unwanted biological attacks can in turn cause harmful effects to the hair. But if you factor in all that, you should still be okay with a power like this. Just hope you end up in a lower stakes kind of world.